Hey everyone, welcome back to another game of War of the Ring with Bob the Canadian. So I have another Lords of Middle-earth League game for you. The tournament's done, so the League playoffs is, well, what I have to make videos about for the rest of the year anyway. So this is my second game. Strider656 also won his first game, so we're playing, I don't know if there's a title for this, if it would be semifinals or quarterfinals anyway. Like the playoffs is only between 8 people, so it's not going to last very long anyway. So he was the higher seed, so he bid that he would be Shadow and gave me 0, and I offered him 1 token for Free Peoples, and he took that. So I think this is the first time that the Free Peoples has gotten anything out of the League playoff so far, aside from just like the higher seed offering 0 either way and it being accepted. So I might be crazy. I don't know. I'm not sure how much value a token is going to do. Obviously, it can be a big difference, but sometimes it's not. So maybe that was a poor choice on my part, but I don't know. I wanted to try it anyway. Okay, so he declares Narya as guide and no companions out. So anyway, as a Shadow player, I'm starting with Olog High and Durin's Bane. That's a decent combo for going to blow up Lorien early on. So that's certainly something I'm interested in at the moment. He has Imrahil and Ents, decent cards. Okay. As he says, all in, I call. I'm very funny. I'm referencing poker anyway. So, okay, I put in 1 eye and I roll 2 more, and he is nice enough to also roll an eye. So 4 eyes is nice for me as a start. Anyway, ideally he moves and gets revealed this turn. I have exactly 1 muster, though. So I'm going to be using that to get the Balrog if he doesn't reveal, or I'm going to wait until pretty much the last possible moment of the turn and then get the Chief if he gets revealed, the Balrog if he doesn't get revealed. That's usually my plan with 1 muster. If I'd had a token, like if he'd separated any companions, then that plan would be either Chief or Saruman. Anyway, so he also could get Aragorn crowned this turn. If he'd had, Fear Fire Foes or Book of Mizarble, then you could do that without spending a ring. But you could spend a ring to do this, which honestly, especially with all companions still in the Fellowship, I think that's what I would do. Like against 4 eyes, like the Shadow player's not getting a lot done this turn. So like, yes, that costs you a ring, but at the same time, you get to enjoy the fact that there's 4 eyes you're not moving against and go crown Aragorn and start again next turn with 5 dice. Of course, you wouldn't have Narya die for next turn, but oh well, that's not the end of the world. So... But anyway, he thinks for a little bit and moves armies, which is also an entirely reasonable choice. So I draw a strategy card because, I don't know, got to draw something. I'm clearly not playing Olog High or Balrog is coming this turn, so got to draw a card. So he moves and he's safe. So that's a bit of a bummer. It's only slightly over 50% odds that I hit him, so that's not world shattering, but still would have been nice anyway. Especially with 4 eyes in the box, it feels bad if you don't get a hit. Like you've invested all these resources, not by choice, but still they're there. So then he moves again, which surprised me a little bit because, especially against 1 muster, moving more and getting revealed to let me have the Chief surprised me. But of course, I mean, it's 50-50 whether he actually gets revealed or not after he gets hit. So that's something. But I'd be tempted to just, muster down the elves or keep moving armies with these Wills of the West. He gets hit and it's a reveal. So that's good news for me. It's still not bad for him, though. Like, it's only a 1R. And he goes the high pass route because, of course, I could get the Balrog, and getting revealed into and out of Moria and getting all those extra redraws can be pretty nasty. Okay, out comes the Chief, and he hides. And I move that army up to from Gorgoroth to Morannon. So, okay, so we get the blue tile and the scouts. I get Shadow of Dol Guldur and Isildur's Bane. So Shadow plus Durin's Bane is a pretty cool combo for getting Lorien. So I, again, certainly still have thoughts of that anyway. Swarm of Bats is good for going to the Dew line, though. Shadow of Dol Guldur can also be good for going to the Dew line. Isildur's Bane, of course, is actually the only tile drawing card that I would want to play right now, because Foulthing or Orc Patrol might just be helping him kill off Gandalf and getting to Gandalf the White and getting to Strider's hiding ability. Isildur's Bane, you can't take a companion. So, anyway. So I allocate 1 eye and I roll 4 more. So, not exactly the start I was hoping for. But, if the game tells you to play Corruption, I guess you kind of just have to play Corruption. So, anyway. He musters the elves down, which makes sense. I play Sealder's Bane because, might as well cycle cards while the chief is still on them, and it's a 1, so that's fine. Cycles into Morgul Wound. Again, if the cards tell you to play Corruption, I guess you play Corruption. So he moves, and he's hit, and it's Smeagol. So that's a bummer. And yet, I guess it's not that bad, because at least it shoves Gandalf Narya out of the way, and it makes it more difficult for him to kill him, but still, a Smeagol early means he can, soak him up for a higher hit. So he moves again and gets hit 3 times and draws an eye. So that's perfect, actually. A 3R eye would have, if Smeagol and Gandalf weren't here, that would be devastating. But Smeagol and Gandalf are here that you can soak up both of at 3 value. So, of course, you kill Smeagol. And the Fellowship moves forward. So I am excited to see that they're revealed now, and he doesn't have any more dice that can conveniently hide. Because Gandalf's a guide, so he'd have to spend a ring to hide this turn, so I don't think he's probably going to do that. So. But anyway, this neatly works for both Shadow and Morgul Wound. I get to put the Chief back on the Fellowship and get the Nazgul ready for playing Shadow of Dol Guldur. He musters the elves down some more. I play Morgul Wound. Excited to see Palantir. That's always a good card. And he musters the elves down some more. I'm also not entirely sure what he's saying about Error City here. Mustering the elves all the way to war like that is pretty devastating for me. Anyway, because I'm not really committed to where I'm going, but usually the first stroke is against either Woodland Realm or Lorien, So the elves being all the way to war is going to make my military progress very difficult to pull off. And the Fellowship's still in decent shape. 4 corruption and Smeagol is gone is something to be happy about. But there's still a long way to go. You still have Gandalf to kill. You still have all these companions to go through. Anyway. Okay, so he draws Wind from the West. Always an amazing card. And another Scouts. That's exciting. So I draw these cards. I think I chucked Devilry of Orthanc. The Threats and Promises, anyway. Yeah, that makes sense. Wait, did he just draw cards again? Lol, he drew cards twice for this turn. That's funny. Okay. Wow, that's different. Yep, totally missed that. He just drew 4 cards for this turn. Oh, well. Anyway, definitely too late to change anything now. Okay, so Fellowship's okay. I allocate 1 eye and only roll 1 more this time. So it's turn 3. This is the first turn that there haven't been 4 or more eyes in the box anyway, so that's fascinating. Okay, he hides. Thinks about it. I muster Sauron down to war. So I could get Saruman this turn, which would be reasonable for sure. But then I still have 3 attacks in a Palantir, and especially with Shadow of Dol Guldur and the elves being at war, I kind of want to hit the road right now. So I'm thinking I'll muster Sauron to war and get Gothmog instead, which, obviously a regular die is better than Gothmog's die, but Gothmog's die is still better than nothing anyway. So okay, so he musters in Elrond, which I was a little surprised by. I kind of thought he was going to hold on to both these musters to protect one of these strongholds after I started coming towards them. But, if you're planning on not having Gandalf as the guide at the end of the turn, then having a keeper die available makes sense. And Elrond's ring ability is very powerful, of course. So I get Gothmog in. He moves the Fellowship. It's safe. And uses Elrond's ring to keep the die. I play Shadow of Dol Guldur, headed towards there. I decided to go here just in case I do feel like pivoting to Lorien makes more sense for some reason. I don't think there's any point in that. If I'm going after Lorien, I should have just gone after Lorien. But because he only has 1 muster to play now, only getting 1 elite in and getting Woodland Realm feels great, as opposed to if I did go after Lorien, Galadriel can show up and make that a real nightmare for me. Also, there's no companions to help defend the Dew line, so it's a whole 5 points versus 2 points. Anyways, that's how I think. So he moves and gets hit with 2 6s. So I was hoping for another eye there. That would have been cool. But that 2 is still good. So he takes a random, and it's Gandalf, which is probably the best result for him. Maybe if you're hoping to make corruption last, then that's not perfectly efficient, but still, I don't know. If I was the Free Peoples, I'd be very happy about that. So attack Old Forest Road, and I play Swarm of Bats, of course. I didn't think that he really actually had scouts, but he had scouts, so I'm glad to get that. So I get my hit. He gets a hit back. So, and then he plays Grimbeorn, which I was definitely surprised to see. As he mentions, that's a mistake. He just forgot that he could muster in Woodland Realm. Because to be fair, how often do you have the elves at war that far in advance? That's a bummer for him that he forgot anyway. But yeah, that's how it goes. He moves again, and is hit, and it's an eye. So 1 reveal. And yeah, as he points out, that's all 3, well, not all 3. It's 3 out of 4 eyes out of the pool already. So that makes tile drawing cards really good for me, because that makes the odds of, hitting him and doing damage with them very high. So that's nice anyway. Okay, so Fellowship is revealed, and I attack Woodland Realm because, might as well try to blow them up before Thranduil's Archer shows up. I get 1 hit. I always forget how toothless your offense feels without the Black Captain. Just the fact that I can't cycle cards here feels, just because I'm used to being able to do that, it feels bad. Like, obviously the Chief is really strong in his own right. But okay, so we each get 1 hit. I press. Maybe I should have played Olog High as a combat card. I don't know. I was kind of thinking I might need it to reinforce to go after Erebor. But anyway. So I press, and we both get 0 hits, so that's a bummer. Okay, so he does not use the token. Obviously, Gandalf Narya die is gone, and he picks up Thranduil at the perfect time. So that's a little sad for me, but that's how it do. Okay, so I put in 1 eye as per usual, and I roll a fantastic combat card roll, and he rolls lots of movement. So that's, yeah, it certainly feels like he's winning at the moment. Anyway, so I'm debating at this point whether I should switch to All Corruption just because it's already up to 5, or if I should carry on with Military because he has so many companions still. I'm not sure what the right play is here anyway. But he hides, thinks about it, does hide. I guess he was thinking about maybe playing Thranduil first, but I guess he was worried I had a card to hurt him if he was revealed, which, is reasonable. And yet, neither Breaking nor Lure would be that bad right now. Like, Lure would be bad if it hit Strider, but that's only 1 in 6. So, anyway, I, assume that he probably doesn't have Thranduil in hand, or he would have played it, and then he plays it. So that's a bummer. Also, of course, it was only like 1 in 21 that he picked up Thranduil right there. So, yeah. Anyway. So, but now that the Will of the West is gone, I'm happy to bring in Saruman and put Palantir of Orthanc down, because I do have these Palantirs here, so I can, cycle some corruption cards and at least put some corruption pressure on. So, yeah, out comes Palantir, and he could spend a ring. That's another plus side now that Will of the West is gone. Not only does that mean he can't bring in Gandalf, but he also can't eliminate Palantir right off the bat, so he'd have to spend a ring to do it, and I guess a ring in the army die would be reasonable, but then I'd be able to get Erebor under siege without that regularly getting there. So that would be the bit of benefit I gain from that pressure anyway. So I play Olog High there, and I draw a strategy card. So I guess the plan is still Military at this point. So Fellowship moves, and it's safe. I attack Woodland Realm. I guess I'm playing Deadly Strife. Okay, yeah, Deadly Strife against Shield Wall. I get 4 hits. He gets 2. I think I press. Yeah, I press. No card. And yeah, now there's plenty of 6s. I just needed like 1 or 2 more 6s last turn, but no, of course we wait for Thranduil to show up, and we wait to waste all these reinforcement cards in Deadly Strife, and then we roll 6 6s. So anyway. He moves troops very naturally. I think about moving towards Erebor, but then like this army isn't that strong anymore, and the backup is a long ways away. So if I move out and besiege Erebor and Rangers of the North shows up, I might have a real problem on my hands. So I decide that it probably makes more sense to start moving towards Gondor and or Rohan instead, and wait for backup. Wait for a couple musters so that these guys are at least at war. Maybe Many Kings shows up, and I'm not 100% committed as to what I'm doing with this army. Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm going towards Gondor at this point. It moves again, and it's safe. Armies move towards Gondor, yeah. And if he uses the token to muster Gondor towards war, I think that makes sense. So it does feel good being at 9.5 dice to his 4.5 dice. Like that's pretty good for the Shadow player. Of course, he could roll Will of the West and get Gandalf at any point now. So. Oh, he thought about declaring, but I saw Fellowship okay, and didn't really think there's any cause to declare, so I just hit the roll button. So anyway, I think if he thought about it enough, he probably would have just, what do you call it? He probably wouldn't have declared anyway. I think he was just going to think about it a bit more. So he moves right away before I put any rerolls on him, so that makes sense. And he gets hit, and it's a 0 reveal, so that's okay. I play Captain of Despair because, I get to cycle with the Palantir before he might take it away, and I'm hoping to cycle into Cruel Weather. And Captain of Despair, of course, there's so many companions out there that having this in play while they're in Mordor means I can keep checking all my character dice into the hunt pool and maybe make an eye really devastating for him. So he hides, and I play a character die because, well, what was on pool like? Yeah, it's about 50-50 whether he gets revealed. So, oh, right, and I also, of course, I wanted to get Gates or Closed out there for if he does get revealed in, then I get that extra tile draw. So, yeah. He moves again, and he gets hit, and it's a 1. So that is good news for me at this point because I'm still hoping to cycle character cards into Cruel Weather, and if I don't cycle into Cruel Weather anyway, he might still move again because he'd be scared of missing out on a turn. So anyway, so I draw a character card, Candles of Corpses, very happy to see that, especially, at high corruption and lots of companions in there. If I can get an eye to spike him up a couple corruption and then play Candles, there's certainly hope that way. Anyway. And I even have the red eye in my hand to add to the pool. So okay, so I use a ring to turn this into a Palantir because I want to get that red tile in there. Because if I'm going to chuck in a bunch of eyes next turn, I want that eye in as soon as possible to make the odds of doing that much damage to him more likely. And I redraw into Shelob, which is also a great card. I would rather have Cruel Weather right now, but Shelob's Lair is still fine. So I know I can't cycle any more cards this turn now, so I'm going to make a beeline towards Dol Amroth to at least, create pressure on this versus the Fellowship and hopefully, make him choose which one. He can either defend it first or he can chuck blue tiles in and move before I put in more red tiles. So I'm going to wait to play Shelob at the last moment to hopefully pretend I have Cruel Weather, and hopefully he moves again and hurts himself more. So I attack Osgiliath, and I get 0 hits, and he gets 2 hits back, so that's a bummer. I press, he retreats to Minas Tirith. He passes, I attack Pelargir, no card, I miss, and he gets a hit. So that went as horribly as it possibly could have for that army. It's still military progress, but it sure doesn't feel good. He brings in Gandalf the White, which I think makes sense. So there's no threat of Day Without Dawn this whole time, of course, because the Southrons still aren't at war. I just haven't had a lot of extra musters kicking around this game. So I'm very sad to see that he didn't move again. So I chuck in Shelob because, again, better to have those red tiles in right at the start so that they're available to hit him every single move. Okay, so we redraw dice. Oh, yeah, I guess Elrond's die is gone now because it rolled a 9. Gandalf the White is in play now. So he draws Power 2 Great and chucks it. So I forgot that Gates was out there, so I put in the tiles that were supposed to be in there, and then so then we draw a tile and it's an eye, and then I remember, oh right, it was probably an eye because I just put 4 more eyes in the hunt pool, so that that's according to the rules. That's a random and improperly drawn tile, so that result should be discarded. So anyway, so then I put all of the. It feels bad because if it was a 3 and neither of us noticed, then it probably would have stood. But of course, if it had been a 3 and either of us had noticed, then we should have redrawn that as well. So that's just how it is. So anyway, okay, so we draw 2. He takes a random. It's a Hobbit. I'm very happy to see just even that 1 point of corruption there because my main hope lies in corruption at this point. Okay, so I put in 4 eyes. I could put in 5, but at the same time, I still want to, have some Palantirs and character dice to threaten this, and I don't know how many more eyes I'm going to roll, and I still want to have enough dice so that he can't just walk in with a Free People's Military win. So anyway, and I rolled 2 more eyes anyway. So 6 eyes in there is very exciting for me. If he hits an eye, loses Strider, takes 3 damage, then I can play Candles, and that's 50-50 odds of just killing him on the spot. So again, very exciting. So he takes away Palantir, which makes a lot of sense. I use my character die now because I want it to be in the pool for, if he moves and hits an eye, then it's 7 damage instead of 6. So that feels fun. I think about it, though, and I think that what I want to do militarily is use this character die to move leadership to Pelargir and then attack, and get Dol Amroth under siege. So maybe I should have opened with Black Captain commands and then use the character die to attack next turn. But, oh no, right. I specifically wanted to bring in the mouth and have his leadership on the field in case Gandalf the White showed up to make my day worse. So he brings in Galadriel, which at the time I was confused by, but obviously that's so that he can use Galadriel's ability to stop one of these eyes if an eye does show up and does, 6 damage. So now I use the character die to move leadership around. Yeah. And now he plays, right. Ent does 2. And Smeagol helps Nice Master. Always feels good to get that blue tile in there, decrease the odds that he gets hit by an eye. I attack Lamedan, no card. I get my 1 hit. Yeah. So especially with Imrahil in hand, this makes sense. He uses a ring to muster up in Dol Amroth. So I play Black Captain commands, I put it under siege. So he knows that he can move now, and next turn he'll get to go first and still play Imrahil and have a full 5 units in there. So that makes a lot of sense. Fellowship moves, and it's an eye. So I'm very excited to see that because, 7R, that would have been 3 for Strider, 4 revealed, so then I would have had to just get a hit with candles next turn to win the game. But he, of course, this was his plan, to have Galadriel in play to do that, and draws a 3 instead. So that's debatably the best result for him. Actually, no, obviously the blue tile followed by the 0 reveal, but I think a 1 reveal, like the 1s or 2s or eyes or red tiles, obviously, are worse because for a 1 or 2, you'd have to pick about losing a companion inefficiently or taking more corruption and making life more dangerous. A 3, he gets to lose Strider efficiently, which is the, clearly correct choice. Like if you took a random and it was like Pippin and you're up to 9 corruption, that's very dangerous. So, anyway. So I pick up Grond and Half Orcs. Those are very good blowing up Dol Amroth tools. I'm still not really planning on winning by military, but you still got to keep up the pressure so that sooner or later you make the Fellowship have to move faster if you're threatening 10 points, and then they're more likely to make an eye more dangerous and hurt themselves. So I checked Durin's Bane because, very unlikely that the Balrog is even going to show up or that Lorien's going to be attacked. So I put in probably 4 eyes, right? Yeah, 4 eyes again, and I roll 5 more. So that's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 eyes in there. So if he hits an eye, it is guaranteed he's dead. 2 from Legolas. Actually, unless both of these are alternates, then maybe he can chain those together too. If both of these are alternates, then he can chain 5 damage from that and then 4 more damage. So if they're both alternate companions, then he could maybe survive an eye. He rolls that, entirely pleasant roll as well. Interesting. I'm not sure what the best thing to do here is. Like, you can't really afford to not move at all, because if you just soak up 1 more corruption, I'm just going to chuck in 4 eyes again next turn. Like, you got to move. But at the same time, it's terrifying when literally if you move at all, you might die. Of course, free people military threats are certainly a thing, but, I have rings to use. So, and Dol Guldur is the only really open one. Like, yes, these are open, and yes, Gondor's at war, but if he did move there and move there, then I can, use an army movement to put these 5 regulars in Minas Morgul and these 3 regulars in Morannon. So it's not really that easy. So I think he correctly chooses to not go after the military victory, and he plays Imrahil first, which makes sense. I pass because might as well see what happens first. So I'd actually thought maybe I should use Gandalf's ring right now so that he can't get Galadriel's ring back if he plays 3 rings. So Elrond's ring is already in the discard, so that's first on the chopping block. But if he got 2 hits, then he can take his pick of Gandalf or Galadriel. And I really, really, really don't want him to have Galadriel's die back. So I almost used Gandalf's die, but I was still too scared of the Free People's military threat, and I wanted to have a die so that I could muster up. I wanted to have a ring, the ability to use a ring anyway, still this turn, to muster up if I needed to. So he played 3 rings, and he only gets 1 hit. So that's a relief for me that he has to take Elrond's ring, not Galadriel's ring. So Elrond's ring, of course, is still very powerful. I'd still rather he got no rings or Gandalf's ring instead, but I'm very happy to not let him have, Galadriel's ring back. So he draws character cards, which I think is absolutely the correct choice. Like, when you have time militarily, but corruption is an issue, cycling character cards is 100% the correct choice. Okay, so he draws another character card. I'm a little surprised he didn't play Elven Cloaks just to, decrease the odds of hitting an eye. Maybe he was hoping for... Or maybe he's going to use Elrond's ring so that he can play Elven Cloaks and then move. Or maybe he was thinking that, like, if it was something really good like Mithril Coat and Sting, then he can use Elrond's Ring to play that and then move. I don't know. I try to pass and realize that I finally can't. Not a problem you usually get as a Shadow player. So I play Half-Orcs and Goblin Men, thinking about playing Grond here. You know, that's why I'm bolstering up that army a bit. So he musters in Minas Tirith. Nope, he plays Eomer. I draw a character card. Yeah, I was going to play Grond, and then I thought, you know what? It's a little bit silly to bother. Like, even if I get the up to 5 points, I'm still not that close to 5 points. And there's still 2 more red tiles out there, and a couple tile drawing cards, and Lure of the Ring and Breaking. Like, there's a lot of character cards I still want to get here for hurting the Fellowship. So I just keep cycling character cards. Then he moves, and it's a 1 reveal. So I'm very sad about that. It was literally 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 1, 2... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 1 out of 3 odds that I just killed him and ended the game right there. Like, which isn't super high, but it's high enough that you'd get excited about it, of course. So literally anything else is great for him. He takes a random, which I think is correct, and it's the Hobbit. So that's just very peachy, very happy for him. Okay, so he picks up File, also an amazing draw. I think Mithril would be even better, but File is still okay. I draw 2 cards. I think I chuck Devilry and Great Host here because I'm very corruption focused at this point. So useless character cards are also at least able to be cycled, so I can draw even more character cards, right? If I chuck Denethor's Folly, yeah, and Great Host, which is so sad because both of those are good combat cards. Like Devilry of Orthanc is playable on the stronghold that I want to be sieging right now, but I just really want to be cycling character cards. Like that's the plan right now. So I allocate 3 eyes because that's as many as I can, and I roll 2 more, so that's decent. But he rolls no movement, which I'm actually slightly disappointed to see because I was kind of hoping he'd move against all these eyes that I put in and, you know, hurt himself. But on the plus side, though, he has to spend a ring to hide, or I get 1 corruption for free. So that is still, you know, that's still something. So he gets to chuck blue tiles in there, though, so that's a bummer. So I switched the Witch King out so that I can, you know, pivot card, cycle cards, get more character cards, hopefully. He draws a character card, makes sense. I attack Dol Amroth. Just use Grond for cycling here. Especially because, you know, if Círdan is out there, like, I'm not that confident I can blow it up in 1 shot, and I'd rather the Stronghold went smooth, like the siege went smoothly, so that if Círdan does show up, I'm not in too bad health anyway. So I forfeit 4, I roll 1 hit, he rolls 1 hit back. It's not the best start for me, it's not bad though. Cycle into Lure, so I'm planning on keeping that for down to Golem, preferably, so that it guarantees adds corruption, and it doesn't help him get down to Golem faster. Plays Elven Cloaks. I attack Dol Amroth again. I play another character card. I cycle Fear Their Masters against Heroic Death this time. I get 2 hits. He gets 1. I guess he just forgot about Heroic Death and didn't use it. So anyway. So he decides that, yeah, he can't afford the 1 corruption, uses the Ring to hide. I think that's correct. I attack Dol Amroth. I think I'm cycling with Wormtongue this time. Yeah. I get 2 hits. He gets 1. And now I decide that it's close enough that I can press and try to finish this off. So I think I'm using Desperate Battle here. Oh, no, right. I draw into Devilry of Orthanc, and it's like, well, that's, you know, playable here and is about to be not playable anywhere else. So I might as well use it now. And I get my 2 hits, so he gets 1 back. That's about fair. Okay, so he moves troops together. Or he moves the Grimbeorn troops to Old Forest Road anyway. I just draw a character card because, yeah. So I'm specifically waiting on playing Candles because I want it to feel safer and then use Candles to finish it off, if that makes sense. Like, I'm hoping that because if I play Candles now and it does like 3 damage, then he's way more scared to move against an eye and take 2 damage than if, you know, next turn, like, he takes an eye, it's 4R, he takes Legolas, moves up to 9, no big deal. Then I play Candles and hopefully kills him. So that's the thinking there anyway. Musters the North down. Draws into there. There's another way in Dane Ironfoot. That's great. Orc Patrol and Ring Wraiths are abroad. I'm not as excited about Orc Patrol right now. I kill monsters routes because, yeah, again, I'm mainly focusing on corruption here. Because I really just don't want to draw an eye out of there. But at the same time, there's 3 blue tiles and there's 5 normal tiles in there. All of those, I'd be happy to see Orc Patrol pull out. So that's something. Anyway, I allocate 3 eyes. I roll 0 more this time, and he rolls plenty of movement. So I'm a little bit frustrated about the timing of the eyes that I rolled 2 last time and none this time. So he moves first before I can use Captain of Despair or any of my cards to make things worse for him, which I think makes sense. And it's the red eye, so that's big. I have had 2 red tiles in the whole time, so it's not that unreasonable that he's hit one. But also he has 3 blue tiles in there now, so that's a bit of a bummer for him for sure. Okay, so naturally he eats Legolas and takes a corruption and is revealed and put back a step. So I didn't even notice that it was alternate Gimli. In his video, he mentions how he actually has original Boromir and base Gimli, so it actually shouldn't have been, what do you call it? It shouldn't be this way. Boromir should have to be the guide right now, but it doesn't really make much difference. So I go ahead and play Lure of the Ring, which is probably a poor choice because I forgot that I Will Go Alone is a thing. So I was thinking to myself, okay, so I can play it, kill a 2-value companion, and then he'll hide, and then I'll play Candles. Because you definitely want to play Candles before he gets down to Gollum. But what could have happened here, actually, is that I play Lure of the Ring and kill a companion, and then he could have played I Will Go Alone to get down to Gollum and be safe, not only from Candles of Corpses, but that would also remove Captain of Despair. So I probably shouldn't have actually played Lure here. But I draw Boromir, who's the 2-value one, and he dies. So then he hides, and I obviously play Candles right now before he moves and Gimli dies. And I get 2 hits. That's slightly on the lucky side. Like, it's 50-50. One of you is lucky, one of you is unlucky. That's how it goes. And, of course, the eye goes in there. So I'm, feeling quite hopeful. He's up to 10 corruption and only has 1 hit point. So, of course, whoops, that a little bit there. There's 6 eyes in there. So, of course, if he moves and hits an eye, then he's dead. 1 eye just left the pool, though, of course. So there's only 3 in there. Shelob also would be devastating, of course. So he plays I Will Go Alone and drops down to Gollum. So that makes a lot of sense. So I play Orc Patrol here. Yeah, because I guess the eyes are less likely now that 1 just went out. So I'm feeling a little more confident that I'll get something good. I could use We Shall Get It. And I guess there's possibilities that would have been correct. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles I would rather see. Shelob maybe, 3 not. But I was just happy to get a tile out of there that wasn't, what do you call it? That wasn't an eye. So I didn't want to use We Shall Get It. I wanted to, hopefully use that on, him drawing file next turn and making him draw an eye instead. Okay, so he plays Bilbo's Song, which is, of course, a great play. And now I'm feeling much less confident about my win. Captain of Despair is gone now because he's down to Gollum. So I muster the Southrons down. He brings in the House of the Stewards. I guess I could have used a ring. I'm just realizing, actually, that last turn I could have used a ring to bring in the Mouth of Sauron instead. Oh, no, I did. I brought him in the turn before that. Never mind. Okay, I didn't miss that. Okay, that's relief. So he draws a character card, House of the Stewards. That's not useful. But he already has had There's Another Way, Bilbo Song, 3 blue tiles. Like, those are some good cards. Mithril Coat is still out there. Athelas is out there. Safe Paths in the Dark is still out there. And there's 1 more blue tile. But there is, before that draw, there's 15 cards to find 4 good ones. So anyway, I finished mustering the Southrons to work turn 9. Lol. It usually doesn't take quite that long. Use Wind from the West to get rid of We Shall Get It. I think that is absolutely the correct play. I draw a character card, Warner Stone Toil. That's completely useless. Flip the Mouth of Sauron. Right, I just use that to make that a Palantir and draw another character card. I probably should have just kept attacking because I'm not actually that far away from winning. Like, these armies put together, there's a decent chance that can take out Erebor and Dale, and this army can probably get Minas Tirith. So that's not actually that far away from a full 10 points. But hey, sometimes you just got to pick your win condition and stick to it. So now I'm a little bit worried. Now I pick up Corsairs, of course, after I finally finish Dol Amroth. So I got to pick one of these to chuck. I probably chuck Warren Restore and Toil, obviously, is the correct choice. Yeah. And I can only put in 1 eye, but I roll 3 more anyway. So that's nice. What did he get? Oh, well, okay. Well, he leads with There's Another Way. So maybe he could have opened with the Palantir. But of course, I might have Day Without Dawn. But then, of course, at least it's out of the way. And I guess you don't want to move fast. You want to move slowly and heal up. So, yeah, using the Will of the West first so that you still have your Palantir to draw more character cards. Yeah, that is the correct play. So he heals 1 and he moves, and it's a 3. So that's okay. Not as good as an eye for me, but still, better than a blue tile or a 0. So he takes 2 corruption. Actually, I think that's probably the most middle of the road because all 4 of those are worse. All 3 of those are better. 5 of those are better. 2 in the middle. Okay, so yeah, that's the exact middle. Like, if you lined them up from worst to best, A 3 is in the middle. Anyway, so that's about fair. Of course, he reveals to heal 1 corruption. I keep moving armies. He musters up in Minas Tirith. I use Ring Racer Abroad to attack Minas Tirith. He stays for a field battle, which, makes sense because he has a couple extra hit points. I'm happy to be able to cycle cards, though, like especially Black Breath. Like, it means I might have a shot at killing his leadership before we go into this siege. So he plays Daylight, and I tried to move my card out of the way, but I forgot just in time. And I roll 3 hits, which is unlikely against Daylight. And most importantly, though, the 1 and 3 on the leader reroll of getting a hit to kill the leadership too is great. And he only gets 1 hit, so that's bad luck for him for sure. So I press, and of course he retreats now. And I pick up Nazgul Search, which is completely useless, but oh well, it's there. He draws a card. Wizard Staff, also completely useless. As I use the Mouth of Sauron to finish wrapping up Gondor and move towards Erebor. That's another card, also useless. I attack Minas Tirith. I use Nazgul Search just to cycle. He plays Heroic Death. Forgot that the leader isn't there. Yeah, usually there's a leader there in Minas Tirith, so that makes sense. Okay, so I roll 2 6s, so that's slightly above average. 0 for him, that's certainly below average. So I press? Yes, I do press. Okay, and I don't play a card. Happy to see Breaking. That's the only hurt them while they're revealed card out there. So, if he takes a few damage and is revealed on the next step, then I can use Breaking to hurt him even more. So that's good news. So I play the strategy card while I'm pressing just because I'd rather keep my character cards for cycling. And while you're pressing, obviously, you don't get a redraw. So I get 2 hits, and he gets 1. I press. No card. I got my 2 6s and finish it off. He gets 1 hit. So now it's the plus side to, you got to keep moving, however slowly, at military. And maybe I could have still been moving faster, actually, throughout this game, is that, now next turn, if I roll some eyes, and especially since I have Lidless Eye, I'm certainly threatening to get 3 more points from Dale and Erebor. So there's some pressure on him to try to win next turn. So if he just rolls 0 movement, I might be able to close this out, So anyway, he uses the H to move armies. What's the other one he does? No, he thinks about it. Oh, no, he plays Dane instead. Right. I think I would have been tempted to muster the North to war there myself, just so that at the start of next turn you could, muster in Dale. But maybe if he'd done that, I don't think I've used a ring yet this turn. Yeah, no, I used a ring last turn, but not yet this turn. So I could just attack Dale if he had mustered them to war. But still, that's not exactly how I'd want to do it. There's a chance that he'd be able to retreat, although he's out of strategy cards, so there's definitely no scouting away. Anyway, so I draw a character card because, again, there's still 2 red tiles out there, and there's only 5 cards in there. So I draw a character card. He picks up Ents and Fear Fire Foes, and I pick up the other red tile. So here they finally are. I checked We Won't Go Back. I'm interested that I chucked that, actually. I guess Deadly Strife and Mumakil are both really powerful combat cards for if I am trying to crack Erebor this turn. And obviously, these are all really useful corruption-wise. So yeah, no, I guess that does make sense. Okay, 1 eye and roll 2 more, and Galadriel also rolls an eye. So the amount of eyes rolled this game was pretty absurd. So he moves, which I think makes sense because I'm certainly threatening to take up to 10 points. So for him to win this turn, he has no more rings. And he needs to move and quite possibly get revealed and then be able to hide again and move again. So, yeah, he can't really afford to wait and let me take that W away with Day Without Dawn. The odds of him dying are certainly there, but there's also decent odds of him surviving too. I think any of these tiles he can survive anyway. It's just the Shelob and the eyes that kill him, which is still 4 out of 10 tiles. So... And the Shelob might not kill him. It's only 1 and 3 that would kill him, but it would, do damage and stop him, of course. So, yeah, I think moving is the correct call, and it's an eye. So I'm very happy to see that, of course, because that's 4 corruption, which neatly puts him up to 12 and finishes him off. That being said, I had, 2 red tiles and Breaking and Lidless Eye to use still, so I certainly wasn't, helpless. But it's so RNG when you throw all your resources at corruption like this. If he just pulled File instead of an eye here, then he would be down to 6 corruption for the last step. And I could still, of course, because he'd be That would do 5. Sorry, be right back. And we're back. Okay. I don't remember what I was saying, but yeah, like the luck is just so strong over corruption victories, especially. Like obviously there's luck in military, but if your military attempt stalls out and is thwarted, you can reinforce and come back. If he moved and hit file here, there's only so much I can do. Like he'd be down to 6 and only need to take one more step. Like I could use a ring or lidless eye, and that's what I'd have to do. And put another tile in there to make it so that, moving this turn would kill him if he hits an eye. And I think actually what I'd have to do is use a ring, put one of the Palantirs in there as an eye, and then use another Palantir to play probably on they went. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'd have to do. And then with these remaining dice, I'd have to hope that, between these troops and these couple cards here, that's enough to take out Dale and Erebor, which, yeah, that's dicey. That's hoping for some luck there anyway. So anyway, that's the game. Statistics, +9 eyes, +5 Palantirs. Like if ever the game was yelling at you that you have to play corruption, it's this one. I don't know if I've ever had a game where the dice made me play corruption like this before. Especially that one turn where just out of my 11 dice, 9 of them were eyes. I've never had a turn with that many eyes before. So I did still have +4 on 6s, -3 on 5s. So that's a bit lucky for me. +5 on Ws for him though. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Also minus a bit on hits for him, but that didn't really come up much this game. I guess maybe if he'd punched back a bit more in Duel Amroth, maybe that would have stalled out a bit more. So anyway, that's the game though. Looking forward to the next one. Have a good one.